Again, that could be your own department that does the reporting, or it could be the accounting office. If you're working on closeout information, we do have a closeout coordinator, Alexa Rubio. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and let us know. But want to make sure again that you know that we do not have any access to any of the financial reporting or submissions for those reports. And lastly, we want to thank you. Happy New Year. And we look forward to our next monthly meetings with you, not quarterly, as Perry said. We want to make sure that we're here for the campus and we're addressing any of your questions. As Ahmad used to say, this is your time. So please feel free to reach out and identify any questions or concerns that you're having so that we can help work with you collectively. And this is all of our contact information. So feel free to reach out to us, whether it's directly or through our inboxes. We're happy to help.
And Cindy Bray has a hand raised.
Okay, Cindy.
I just wanted to ask, when we already have an existing award and we get additional funding, is it SPO who decides whether it gets a new accounting number, or is that on CGA?
Yeah, it's typically the contracts and grants office because it depends on whether or not that award number changes or not and what Aggie Enterprise is capable of doing.
Okay, because it seems to me like when we're getting additional funds, but the award number hasn't changed, like the primary award number, that it'd be so much handier to get the awards put into the same projects and have us just rebudget it, because otherwise we have to, do some transfers and some things like that ends up making more work, and it seems less efficient.
Speaking for CGA, it depends on the terms of the award.
Okay. So it's worth reaching out to ask?
You can reach out to your grant administrator.
Okay.
If it's an amendment or depending on whatever the terms are.
Okay.
That's what the determining factor is.
There are some exceptions to when we're dealing with when they're long projects that may last more than 5 years. So sometimes if there's there's a 10-year or 20-year grant of some sort, we tend to create new projects for every 5-year period, kind of as a way to separate the projects out as there's another application to get to the next 5-year of funding. So it might actually have the same award number or award FAIN number from the prime sponsor in a situation like that, but we actually might create Cayuse projects that are separately for them. But those are kind of rare. And if you have a situation like that, you can reach out to your awards analyst and talk about that particular situation, what would be best in that particular sponsor.
Okay, thank you. That's all been helpful. I appreciate all of you.
When Paramanica has a hand raised.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I had one where, here we go. So I was told by CGA that there's a budget breakdown sheet that's initiated by SPO, and that's what they use to appropriate the project accounts for the budget. And I was wondering if this document is different from the award and proposal documents that we see at the department level. And if so, if the account managers can get a look at that before it goes to CGA to help identify any errors.
Hey, Gwen, that's the internal budget that they're using.
Okay, that's just their name for that?
Mm-hmm. It's our OR budget template. We upload it as the final budget and they use that.
So then I have a follow-up question. So in those areas where the budget categories do not directly align with the Aggie Enterprise categories, how are we handling that? In the past, we used to handle it with sub-accounts or project codes or something like that, but that's not really an option in Aggie Enterprise. So how are we handling line items in the budget that don't directly align with a budget category in Aggie Enterprise?
The CGA question?
Yeah, Lenora, do you?
I don't know, Gwen, if there's a certain scenario that you want to reach out to me and we can take a look.
Well, I was thinking about that one that we had where equipment is not quite equipment. And I know that there's other ones where like sponsors have a specific line item of, like this only for these supplies are only for task A or whatever. So there's a lot of specifics that the sponsors want us to keep track of in budgets that Aggie Enterprise doesn't have the capability for us to get down to that level.
Yeah, so we can always set up separate projects to track that if needed, since there's not sub accounts anymore. But we can definitely, if there's some one in particular or cases that come up, feel free to reach out and we can talk about. I mean, we are limited, but if it needs to be tracked separately, then it would be a separate project, right?
Okay, so the process for that is, again, when we get the budget approval, if there's anything that we think needs to be different, to reject that budget and communicate with CGA on how to correct.
Yeah,
how
or
to
if
set
it
that
needs
up
to be,
correctly.
if it needs to be set up as a separate project, then my suggestion would be to submit a ServiceNow ticket requesting the additional projects, because then we can approve that initial budget so you can start putting your payroll and stuff and just rebudget and set up the new projects. But
Okay.
Feel free to reach out and we can take a look and set it up or work with you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Tuck, you have a hand raised?
Yeah, good morning. I've gotten some conflicting information between SPO and CGA in regards to minimum PI effort on the federal awards, where SPO's asking us to add cost share effort if we don't have PI effort. And I've had some conversations with CGA indicating that there's actually policy on not having to do that. And I was just hoping that we could get the two offices together on that.
So as far as I understand, the policy is based on campus's PPM, is that a reasonable level of effort on a federally funded research project needs to be identified, whether it's direct effort or cost share or voluntary effort. So if there's something else that accounting is saying that is nullified, I'm not aware of it. And I'm
Yeah, Chris, we're not enforcing that anymore.
So the policy exists, but it's not being enforced.
The policy is that there has to be some level of effort. It's at the discretion of the PI and it does not need to be enforced at pre-award. That was written by your prior associate vice chancellor.
Okay.
To be that way.
Okay.
So yeah, there's no reason. What we're doing is we're using a global approach, and Mike LeGrand, when we do a rate proposal, he is imputing the amount from all the awards. So he doesn't need them individually.
Okay.
So we're making sure that we're covering the amount that we need, but we're not doing it one award at a time.
All right. Well, I will look for that memo. Thank you.
So in the chat, Kate Landry asks, will it be enforced at post-award?
No, actually, there is no enforcement. Mike is scooping up what he needs to get into the rate proposal to meet the federal requirement.
Can I ask how that might affect effort reporting at the end of the year?
Yes,
They don't have to do at least 1% with their effort reporting then on federal.
correct. We haven't done that in probably 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it saves us hundreds and hundreds of hours at effort reporting time.
And just to confirm, some sponsors require effort on their end, like NIH, right, requires defined effort. So that would be a different situation.
That's different. We're just talking about the minimum 1%.
Right. We're talking about like USDA, right? If they don't really have an opinion. I know CDMRP doesn't require it necessarily. So those would be sponsors.
Yeah, if the sponsor has a requirement, then that's different. But we're just talking about where campus was enforcing a 1%. We're no longer doing that.
And I also wanted to clarify that's also for federal awards. So there are expectations of effort on for-profit sponsors of charging at least 1% effort.
If the sponsor has a requirement for it, then we need to do it. But if we're just doing the minimum 1 or 2% because of the campus rule, then there is no campus rule anymore.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Bill, does that address your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Great question, Bill.
Yes.
Any other questions before we move on? We've already blended into our next topic, but just checking any questions for SPO here. All right, thank you for those questions. We appreciate it. That's why we're here. So you have the opportunity to ask those questions of the experts in real time. So now we're going to turn it over officially to Contracts and Grants Accounting with Mario Reina-Guerra.
Thanks, Barry. So I don't have a lot of updates this month. I do want to announce that CGA does have a new director. She was not able to attend today's meeting. She's in training at Berkeley. So she will formally introduce herself to this community in the next forum next month. Some of you have already been parts of kind of some meet and greets. Her name is Nicole Tardif. She's coming to us from Florida Polytechnic, and she has many years, I think about 18 plus years of research administration experience, both at her previous employer, Polytechnic, and also at Tufts University. So she has both pre and post award experience, coming prior as the director of sponsored programs over at Florida Polytechnic. But I will let her give more details of her background when she introduces herself. So good news for CGA. We've been, as many of you know, we've had some turnover in our leadership ranks right at fiscal close. So it's great to get some more support in that area. I also wanted to talk about a engagement that we had with Deloitte. They were our consultants during the migration to Aggie Enterprise. We brought them back in the fall. And since our last meeting for this forum, we had an engagement that ended in December. It was a 3-month engagement. We brought Deloitte back to help with reconciliations that we had to do between KFS and Aggie Enterprise. So the goal in the engagement was to make sure that all records in KFS were now reflected in Aggie Enterprise. That was impacting our invoicing and other areas, but we wanted to make sure we went through that reconciliation, had the bandwidth, and had the expertise in getting everything up to date in the new system. So where that left us after December was a reconciliation between the two systems, and we made the Aggie Enterprise records match KFS, good or bad. So we do have some cleanup efforts still remaining on the Aggie Enterprise side, but now we have it in one platform. We're not going back and forth determining any items that may have been needing to be reconciled prior. So we are working on that. Our goal that we have communicated out through the Vice Chancellor's office is by the end of February to have the cleanup done for any invoicing items that remained. That includes invoicing that we're also looking at invoicing that happened after go live that was done manually. So invoices that were sent to the sponsor manually, but were not reflected on the ledger. So that also impacts unapplied balances in different cash received undistributed accounts. So that's a big undertaking that CGA is going through right now. Hope to have that completed by the end of February again. We've done a series of we're calling them road shows. So we're trying to get out into the research community to come and speak with you directly to hear kind of questions and concerns. but also to kind of get into the next phase of Aggie Enterprise. We've passed the year. The first year in any migration, I've worked with other organizations, is always stabilization, we're identifying some of the issues, problem areas. We're in a better place now than we were a year ago. I think everybody could agree with that, but we're not where we want to be long term. So there's still some things we're working through. There's still some areas for improvement. We understand that. We're working towards the resolution of that, those areas, and also developing sound processes and controls. So that's where really our focus is right now. We will continue to have office hours. We're continuing to be, the ticketing system is the system that's here to stay. It's our communication hub now. So we really ask that if you have any individual items that are more granular, the ticketing system, that is the area to kind of go and ask those questions directly. If you have anything that really needs to be escalated, we ask that you not continue to open new tickets on the same subject. We are getting that. We are getting, if you're concerned that your ticket has not been responded to, and you have something urgent, you can contact one of the supervisors, or you can contact me, but we're asking that you please not overdo the tickets to keep opening and opening them. And if there's a question about your answer, your item not being answered and that the ticket was closed, then please escalate that as well. You can do that to one of the supervisors. Let's see, I think that's all I had for updates. Ashley, I see you have a question.
Hi, I was just wondering, the limited number of office hours, only having it one day a week, makes it a lot harder to attend if, it happens to be the time you have a standing meeting every week. Is there any consideration in going back to at least more than one day a week, or is there an option for us to request that we can have a conversation with somebody outside of that 45 minutes, or kind of what's our best course of action if that's the problem?
Yeah, the office hours that's not just CGA, so it's a decision as far as the frequency or the cadence of the office hours, but I can take that back to the group that's determining the use of office hours. A lot of office hours have really become ticket questions, like asking about specific tickets, which is fine. I mean, if those are the questions you have, those are the questions you have. We're not going to dictate what to ask in office hours. So the frequency of the office hours, though, is something that we've kind of been gauging based on use, like how many people are showing up, what questions are being asked. It helps inform also KBAs that are drafted, and how we're getting information out there. So I'll take that back, Ashley, about the frequency. I had understood that it was going to be 2 days a week, kind of as the standing model. I had not heard the 1 day a week, so I'll look into that.
Okay, that would be great. Thanks. And I get it. Like, yeah, I just was curious kind of because I wasn't there when they made that announcement.
And I know that through the holiday season, it was kind of a moving target. We had weeks where obviously we had holiday break, so it took a hiatus. And during that time, we also went down in frequency. So I think having that feedback that, yeah, they're useful, people really want to attend them. I have not been attending the last couple of weeks, the last few offerings, so I'll check in to see, really get a better sense of what the types of questions, and also the turnout. If we're still getting a healthy turnout, it's something we want to continue to offer.
Great, thanks. I mean, I think it's good even it's something that would have even been great before Aggie Enterprise. Like, it's a good opportunity for us to ask questions that maybe don't need a whole ticket. So I think it's been a great addition, even just for those things like, hey, is this something that's possible? Or, you know, things like that. So just my 2 cents.
Oh, thank you, for sure. And that's the motivation really we've been asked by senior leadership in finance to really kind of get out in the research community, whether that be having forums like this, but also we have had some in-person meetings. We've had one at the College of Engineering 2 weeks ago. We've had some at the School of Veterinary Medicine, and those have been good opportunities for people to kind of bring their specific questions in maybe a smaller setting or more specific, so we can have kind of guided conversations.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Sure.
In the chat, Mario, someone asked, does CGA have a standard report for invoicing backup yet?
Thank you for that question. That's a great question. We are, so we work bi-weekly with the group that develops reporting. And I want to clarify the reporting question because this has come up. Reporting is being developed in really 2 channels. There's reporting that's being developed from the campus perspective, and then CGA is working with the same people that develop the reports for CGA as a central unit. The 2 may have crossover. We may be developing reports that have a wider campus application, but there's also the need, some departments have specific needs for reporting. But CGA is not really looking from the department's perspective when we're asking for reports to be developed. We understand that there is a channel for that. So what we're looking for is working with this reporting team to escalate, because we also can't escalate reporting needs for the larger campus community. We don't know how to prioritize, we don't know what the prioritization is for the campus. It might be different for one unit than the next. So the AR, I believe it's called the AR portfolio report. Essentially, it's the backup report. So how will the backup look to our sponsors? That's our top report for prioritization. There were a couple groups that jumped in line that needed some vital reporting at year end, at calendar year end. So we kind of had to wait on those. But we're a couple weeks away from being able to implement that report, and that will bring a standardization to how our backup looks to sponsors. So similar to before, where we would provide a 2 report and a 339, that's the reports being developed. It's being developed really on the kind of the guideline is some of our sponsors that have been most vocal about the look of our backup and the requirements of the elements have been kind of the drivers in how we've developed that. So we feel it's a pretty comprehensive report. It looks and feels very much. We really pulled the elements that we were drawing off of a 2 report. For example, having vendor detail. Also in the look of it, a lot of the early stages of backup we were sending to sponsors looked like we were just sending them an Excel spreadsheet. That is Aggie Enterprise reporting. So this will help not only format, but bring the content in. Let's see.
So in the chat, Mario, there's a question about the impact of there was an email out to faculty about expanding the administrative support for research administration. So what's the impact in terms of CGA with these FTEs being added, and what impact might that have on the folks at the department level?
So we are in with the new director. I'm working with the new director. We're doing a workload evaluation because while there's also the requests or the need for staffing, we have to do it within the budget constraints of the larger campus. So it's not like we have this pool of, you know, unlimited funds to staff with another few FTEs. Excuse me. But CGA is there is the option or the feeling on campus that CGA does need additional support. So what we're doing is we're going through an evaluation of not only the workload, but the additional functions that CGA took on as we implemented Aggie Enterprise. So it's something that we're working towards. In addition to that, that communication that went out is also a directive for CGA and SPO to work together to look at the whole administrative support model and identify start to finish process and how each group has a part in that process and what are things that we can do to improve, whether it be systems, technical, you know, enhancements, being able to fine tune the handoff of the feed that we get from sponsored programs to CGA, or whether it's any kind of process improvements that both CGA and SPO can work towards to streamline the overall award administration process. I think on campus there's not a clear view sometimes of the delineation between what is a CGA function and what is a sponsored programs function. So we are looking at it as one process, and we're looking for areas of improvement. But we're definitely looking at what has been the impact of Aggie Enterprise and how is CGA best not only staffed, but also organized to address those challenges. So more to come on that.
And just since Mario is addressing that question, I'll just address on SPO's side. We suffered a lot of employee departures from the university. So we were shorthanded. We lost a lot of our leadership team and a lot of the awards team. So that created a bottleneck. And so the campus was really helpful in helping us resolve that bottleneck by providing us some contract employees to help as we were recruiting and staffing up. And we have done an amazing job in SPO of staffing up. We have great new staff, and we're still working on filling some of the vacancies in SPO, but we're getting through this hard period. It sometimes happens. In the past, we had a lot of people leave on the proposal side, and this time it hit on the award side. It's like a pendulum swing. So we appreciate everybody's patience and flexibility while we were just dealing with these departures and staffing back up.
Yeah, and I'd add to that too that Denise has been a great partner with CGA. She's really pushing for areas that we can kind of combine efforts to improve the process. We've identified several areas, and it's been a lot of good communications that we've had, both prior to the directive that came out from the chancellor. So it's something that we've identified. This is going back to early parts of the summer that we initiated these really, I guess the cadence has been more of a monthly work groups with SPO. So I would echo what Perry is saying, not only from the staffing, getting past the challenges of staffing. CGA also had some staffing challenges we had some positions approved. So we were going through recruiting over the summer. All of those positions have been filled. So now we have some new faces, and as people are getting up to speed, we're also hoping to build in that bandwidth for greater support.
Thanks, Mario. Any other questions for CGA or Mario or his team?
Hi, I have
Post
a
Award.
question.
Yeah, Miguel.
We've noticed here at chemistry that when we transfer some costs from one project to another, those burden costs sometimes don't reflect immediately. We just wanted to know, is there a schedule that you guys are going off of, or are they supposed to happen immediately? The burden costs, the indirect costs, I mean.
Yeah, Lenora, correct me if I'm wrong on those, but the burdening happens, that's an overnight process. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, Miguel, that it's not immediately in that sense, because we have to run burdening. It's actually a job that runs in Ag Enterprise. It can be run manually, but it's run overnight. So all the costs at posts, the burdening will run after that to create the burden costs. I don't
Okay,
know
so
if that's what you're talking about, or if that's what you're saying.
the
Lenora,
indirect
does that make
costs.
sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it runs every night.
Okay. Yeah. So if it doesn't happen immediately, should we let you guys know?
Yeah, I just saw something flash that's taking 5 days. That's definitely outside of that process.
It's not running overnight.
So let's see.
Well, it would depend. So depending on when that transfer is final, like all the approvals, and if it's, say it's done before 5 o'clock in a day, it's not when you immediately process that transfer. It's when all the approvals are completed. And then if it's complete that night, it should catch it in the system. If for some reason you come across where it didn't, then I would definitely submit a ticket and include the project and the transaction number so we can take a look.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for that question, Miguel. Any other questions for CGA? How about questions for IRB? We got John Tupin sitting out there. He's the IRB director, and I'm sure he'd love a question thrown his way.
Alexa, turn off overhead light. You are absolutely the worst. I just want you to know that.
All right. Well, I think IRB does such a good job communicating that people don't have questions.
As it should be.
Somebody wrote, "You just triggered my Alexa."
Yeah.
All right. So thank you, Mario, for the contracts and grants accounting updates. And now I'm going to share some upcoming training opportunities from the Sponsored Programs Office. So I just want everyone to know that I'm the training officer for SPO, and I try to address the needs of all of you. So if you identify an area that you're confused about in the pre-award process, reach out. As an example, Floyd reached out and he asked to get some additional training materials on the NIH salary cap. And so I haven't gotten to that yet, but that is my plan to create new training materials or at least some documents to put on our website to answer any questions people might have about the NIH salary cap. So if there's anything like that that comes up, you can reach out to me, and I'm putting my email in the chat. I'll try to help create materials so that we are as smooth as IRB and you don't have any additional questions because you find all the answers that you need online. All the training materials are there. But coming up, we have a few UC Learning Center trainings. These are our standard trainings that we offer throughout the year. And these are instructor-led, and they're offered over Zoom. And tomorrow, we have one on using the OR budget templates. And we're going to talk about the new template that Alyssa mentioned at the start of today's meeting, the one for T32s. So that's going to be folded into that training. That training is all about how to use these sometimes intimidating Excel documents to create your budgets. So that's a good training. And the link to find additional information about each training and how to register are on the page that I put in the chat, the link there. And then in February, on February 27th, we're going to have a recurring training on using Cayuse 424, and that covers preparing a proposal in Cayuse 424, as well as the updating your professional profile in the 424 system. And then we have another class that is, we have a lot of people interested in it, but there's always room for more in the virtual world. We would have filled out an entire classroom if we were doing this in person, but it's a research administration workshop that we're offering next week on Thursday, January 30th from 9 to 11, and that is on submitting multi-component applications to NIH. So that one, because it's a research administration workshop, you don't sign up through the UC Learning Center. Just email spotraining@ucdavis.edu and we'll add you to the list and we'll send you the information to join that class as well. And like I said, we have, I think, 42 people signed up for that one already. And the research administration workshop are classes that we offer periodically from time to time. But this one has such an interest that I'm going to make sure that I add some of the materials from that class to our website so that you can access that information as needed. And I see some folks have added things into the chat. So someone asked about the NIH salary cap. Yes, there is a new salary cap, but it hasn't yet been officially announced or approved by NIH. So the word is out there. You can start using the new salary cap. Someone wrote 225,700. I'm assuming that's the correct new total.
That is.
Okay. And so, yeah, you can start using that in your budgets, but we're going to wait to officially announce that until we hear the official announcement from NIH, which last year occurred in March. But go ahead and start using that new salary cap. Oh, I see. Alyssa already responded to that. So yeah, Alyssa added, if you're using the new salary cap, you can ignore any warnings in Cayuse 424 related to exceeding that salary cap. And I see a question, does the budget training include how to do summer salary? Yes, it does. And if you previously used the OR budget templates, they have been simplified. Last year, Lisa Bunn went through and did a serious simplification for users of the budget templates. So it used to be that there were 3 different summer salary options for you to choose from, depending on when summer started. And that led to a lot of questions. And Alyssa has simplified that. There is just one selection for summer salary now. And because the differences didn't make that much of a difference in the budget enough to just simplify it. So yeah, tomorrow's training will touch on that, but like I said, it's easier now than it used to be. And there's a question, should we ask subawards to use the new cap for their budgets? Well, that's a good question, Ryan. I'm assuming the answer is yes, but Chris and Alyssa?
I think since organizational policies vary, we don't want to dictate what our subawardees do, but you can certainly give them the option and say, would you like to use this new rate because it's going in where it's acceptable to us? Because they may have a policy not to use it or a policy to use it. So I would just, go ahead and provide them with the option.
And Rolando has added a link, which might be the official notification from NIH. I don't know. So are there any questions about the classes coming up or salary caps or anything at all related to research and your experience here at UC Davis?
the link, just to comment, the link that Rolanda put is the AHRQ, and they always come out before NIH. And so they've gone ahead and updated it. It's not the official NIH one, which should come soon.
Thank you, Alyssa. All right. As Sharon is saying, Happy New Year. What's the email to sign up for the training? Colleen, are you talking about the or budget templates? Tomorrow on Thursday. So I put that in the chat. And since I have you here, I'll just, I can share my page and show you. So this is the SPO upcoming training opportunities page. And you can use these links up top to jump down to a particular section. So we have SPO office hours on the first Thursday of each month. Then we have the information about the research administration workshop that's happening next week on January 30th, a little explanation about that class. And then we have the list of all of our recurring UC Learning Center classes. So if you want to sign up for tomorrow's class, you would go down and just click on that link there to sign up for that or for future classes that are coming up. And then at the bottom, we have e-courses that cover some of the classes we offer in person once a year. And these you can take as needed. And some of these help you move towards getting a certificate. And then I also offer unlocked versions of those courses. So you can go and find information in those courses that is helpful to you, but you won't get course credit, but they're unlocked and available for you to browse. And then we additionally have some information from previous workshops. So we have submitting multi-component proposals. This is the slide deck for the last time we offered the class that we're going to offer next week. All right. So any last questions? No. Well, thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next month on the fourth Wednesday for the next Research Administration Forum.